play after big play down the stretch, and that's what it takes.
It won't cost you money asking about the muggings you got tonight, but how did you like how he responded, and especially that last basket? It just looked like there was no way he was going to be denied.
He, definitely from our angle, it looks like he's getting fouled and he's not getting those calls, but his response was great. He just continued to fight through it, continue to play, continue to force the issue in terms of with his physicality going to the basket. And if he didn't have it, he found open teammates, and big time performance by him, by Z, by Brandon and CJ last 5 or 6 minutes. Big time block by Brandon.
You mentioned Jose a moment ago. How impactful do you think he was in switching the momentum of this one?
He was extremely impactful, and a ton of credit goes to Jose and Coach Brandon Demas. They continue to work, whether he's playing 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and it's evident in his play. He came out tonight, and we put him in the second half, and he really turned things around for him, so we're grateful.
I mean, how impressive was the Zion conversion at full speed, 3 Spurs on him? Just how impressive was it to focus and make that in that moment?
It was extremely impressive. I haven't gone back and watched it, but I saw the ball hit his hands, and he just took off. And I had a timeout, and there was no way I was going to burn that timeout at that time with him going as fast as he was. And, it was one of those moments where whatever we were going to do, we were going to probably put the ball in his hands anyway. So it just his touch, his speed, his force, it was on full display.
So your gut instinct was in that moment was no way we're taking this. Zion's got the ball. Let's see what happens.
That's it. The ball's already in his hands, and if he makes it, we walk away with an opportunity to win. If he doesn't, we'll live with it.
Do you normally want a timeout in that situation, or is it kind of like you just have to read what's on the court and try to make the best decision?
It was a read to just make the best decision that I thought would help us win the game. And anytime we have a transition opportunity with the ball and, arguably one of the best players in the league, you got to live with that.
What do you think about the job Dyson did? I mean, you guys throw him on Vic in the second half. A lot of teams are going a lot bigger. You guys, Larry's out tonight, Herb's out tonight, but what did you think of the job Dyson did?
Dyson, he fought all game long, and his defense is incredible. He can guard 1 through 5. He was physical. He's only 20 years old, and he's out there battling his tail off. And we needed that contribution from all of those guys. Dyson was great tonight.
The third guy flying in on that last signed shot was Victor from behind, and I think he missed it by a couple of inches.
Thank God.
Do you ever sit there and marvel at those two bodies, like those two athletes doing the things they do on a court against each other?
I do. I really do. We don't take it for granted to see Victor up close, his size, his ability to handle the ball, to block shots, to shoot. It's incredible to watch. And then we have Z, who is a physical force, can handle the ball on the perimeter, can make plays like a point guard, can go up and finish. Both of those guys are defending. So just incredible to watch those two go to battle tonight.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Fall thanks, Pelicans. You're now tuned into the Pelican Postgame Report. Much love to the flock. Appreciate y'all for joining us for this episode of the Pelican Postgame Report. Oh, man, the Pelicans edge out the Spurs, man, in this one. Oh, man, what can I tell y'all? They barely edged them out in this one, man. 114 to 113. The Pelicans come up with the win on the road. And listen, man, sometimes you're going to get them like this, the Pelicans, man. Let me tell you, man. I mean, it all housed in the first half of the game, man, watching the game, asking, where's Jose Alvarado? Where's Jose Alvarado? Where is Jose Alvarado? We need that spark. We need that spark. And Willie finally put him in the second half, and we were able to get the spark we need to kind of help us. Zion Williamson was big in this one as well. And it was just an interesting game. But anyway, shout out to the fan. Appreciate y'all. Y'all please feel free to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to. All right, our favorite two Spurs people are in the building, Big Sean and Tasha. Shout out to my friends, both of them. Shout out to them being in the building tonight. They're members of the worst team in the NBA. But you know what, man? Y'all team got a lot of heart, man. Y'all were missing Keldon Johnson, and that probably would have made a big difference too in the matchup had the Pelicans played. That he was in there, but man, they played. They were scrappy. They didn't give up, man. The Pelicans, they just was there with that energy, man. And ultimately, it came down to the line, man, where we got it. But the referees involved. But hey, I'll take it. So much love to y'all and Big Q. We got Lex chiming in as well. Lex, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there, Lex. My bad. My bad, Lex. I forgot to send my girl Lex the link. Goodness gracious.
I was like, what's going on?
You forgot
You
to
don't want to hear from me tonight, do you?
Lex, like you tell me something. What's going on here? Anyway, shout out to y'all for being here. Lex, this was a little too close for comfort, man. Tonight, I know we're not gonna be perfect, but the Pelicans did show some heart. Ultimately, down the stretch, getting the win, they wanted it a little bit more than the Spurs. It'd have been a horrible loss if we'd have dropped one to this team. They are the worst team in the NBA in terms of their record. But at the end of the day, I got to give the Spurs a shout out. They were fantastic in this one, man. And in terms of their energy and their effort in trying to get the dub. So, what do you think about what happened with the Pels and the Spurs tonight?
Starting out, I think the first 2.5 quarters, I was like, this is awful. You know what I'm saying? Because it was rough. I don't feel like the Pels were playing up to par. But one thing I will say is that I'm actually glad that this was a close game. The Pels finally won a close game. Before, all the wins that the Pels have had up to this point, they've been blowout wins. And I've been talking about that like we're only winning like just one way is in blowouts. We
Right.
needed a game like this. I know it was ugly. I know high blood pressure and, stress and everything was there, but hey, this was needed, y'all. We needed a game like this. And I think it was perfect against the Spurs because it's like we know we can do it. We know we can finish a close game because not every game is going to be a blowout. It's not going to be a blowout. And I mean, it is what it is. Like, we have to be able to win close games. And this was a great start, a great step in that direction. Like I said, I know it's against the Spurs. But again, this team has been struggling in close games. And so I really commend, just their fight down the stretch, their execution, regardless of those horrible, horrible bad calls.
Oh yeah, that was horrible.
Oh my gosh, they almost gave the game away.
Yeah.
Almost gave the game away because they were very convincing. I mean, Zion was selling and all that stuff. And it's like, how can you miss that? How could you miss that? Those calls. And I know we like to leave the refs out of it because, obviously they're going to do what they're going to do, but those calls would have been crucial. They would have been crucial, but I'm really glad that they won a close game, man. They won a close game. Yep, you're right. Pelicans Nola said it was 0-6. It's 0-6, so now I think it should be 1-6 now. She was 1-6. But yeah, this was a great game. Now I will say this. Because I noticed this, Big Q.
Yeah.
I noticed it. 609. 609. You know what happened at 609 in the fourth quarter?
Oh no.
Because I'm not letting him off the hook.
Yeah.
Look, you tried to give the game away too, dog. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hey. Willie Green took Zion at 609, and this boy was cooking. Once that fourth quarter hit, he was cooking. And he took him at 609, put Jonas in. There were two missed shots and a turnover.
Right.
And I think they tied it, or did they took the lead? Yeah, they took the lead. Man, I'm like, Lord Jesus. Oh, Willie. But you see what I'm saying? But
Yes.
what did he do? What did he do? He wasn't delayed. He
No,
wasn't. Well, it was delayed, but it
not
was
as
it wasn't to the point where it hurt us, like, because we
right.
were down 4, right? We were down 4. No, wait, we were down 6. We were down 6. Man, he brought him back. Man, let me tell you something. Was as soon as Zion went out, they smelled blood.
Yep.
They smelled blood. I mean, they was getting down that floor like, okay, Zion's out the game. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? But oh my gosh, man. I'm so glad Willie took that time out and got that man back in the game because
Man.
he had it going.
Yeah, he was.
He was cooking.
He was cooking.
And this is the thing I'm talking about. You got to know when to call audible. Leave him in the game. Like, I think a couple of shows ago, somebody had mentioned, look, Zion's huffing and puffing. He can't stay in the game. He's not in shape. Hey, we don't know what Zion can do if we don't put him in that type of situation.
Right.
If we're taking him out, we're definitely not going to see it. We're not going to see how his body responds when he's being challenged, when that pressure is on, when he's fatigued. Hey, this is the NBA. You got to learn how to fight through that stuff, and that's how you see what you're made of. But he was not given that opportunity. But today he was given that opportunity. If Willie Green hadn't taken him out, because he did have to get his rhythm back, get back on track and everything. But somebody's playing like that, man. You can't throw a wrench in their rhythm. You can't throw a wrench in when they have it going, when they're hot like that. And I'm so glad he put him back in the game, because if he would have left him out a little bit longer, I don't know what we'd be talking about right now, Big Q.
We'd be wholly upset with what happened in the game for the Pelicans to lose to a team with 10 wins in the season, a team that's now 10-39 and 5-20 at home. It wouldn't have been a pretty sight, I promise you that much.
Yeah.
To have
And
lost to the Spurs tonight.
And that's all. And he basically, if Willie hadn't taken him out, he would have basically played the whole quarter.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want, man. That's what we need. Play him down the stretch. Play him. Let's see what he can do. And this is the first time, for the most part, because he was out. He came back at 5:10. They took him out. So that was a whole minute. All that transpired in a minute while he was sitting down.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something else, Lex, to see it happen, the Jose Alvarado thing. How they started the game, and you were looking at them to kind of see if they would start the game doing the Zion, let Zion run it to get involved in the game like Willie and the rest of them kind of went into, but that wasn't the case in this game. They kind of sunk back into what they used to do.
Yeah.
They kind of went by, CJ doing it, BI doing this point guard by committee approach, as opposed to with the Zion. Was like, okay, I thought we were going to lead with the Zion point, but they didn't do that. And there was some confusion in the first quarter of the game.
It was, man, they look so, I was like, man, y'all. And I said just last, I was like, man, this game is about the Pels, man. They have to, we don't want to underestimate the Spurs. That's what I was saying.
Right.
Like, even though they do have, the worst record in the league, those guys, they were playing. They play hard. No, they can get somebody. They're gonna get somebody. So the thing is, it's like, instead of focusing on the fact that we're playing the Spurs, we need to take ownership and go out there and play to get better. Like, this is a time where we don't need to play around. And those first 2.5 quarters, I felt like they weren't locked in. The team as a whole. They just weren't locked in like they needed to be. The Spurs got so many bunnies, so many layups. It was like a layup line. And one move that I will give Willie credit for he inserted Jose in the game. I don't want to forget about that, because Jose, when he came in with his energy and his pace, along with Dyson, those two just did the little things. They did the little things. Jose came in and he pushed pace. Dyson was getting deflections. When the ball was deflected, he would get the ball and start pushing the ball. But you could see the pace pick up a whole lot more. And that wasn't there in definitely the first half. That wasn't there. So I'm glad he made that change right there, because that was really key. And he was just doing basic deflections, just disrupting the rhythm of the Spurs. And that's what we needed, because everything was too easy. It was like a layup line for the Spurs.
Yeah,
So
yeah, go ahead, Lex. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you good. You can say what you were gonna say.
It was extremely frustrating to watch that happen, man. I mean, to see the Spurs getting and then effort. It was effort, rebounds as well, them getting the second chance points.
Yeah. And they still got them in the second half too.
Yeah.
I was like, "Golly, come on, y'all, get the ball, get the ball."
The Spurs were. I mean, like I said, I'm kind of messing with Tasha and Sean, but I got to give them credit. Their team, even though they record wise is the worst team in the NBA, in terms of effort, those guys really were in there fighting, man.
They were
doing. They gave the Pelicans everything that they can stand tonight, and scared the piss out of them too. They scared them. It came down to later in the game for them.
They NBA team though.
Yes.
Even the worst NBA team, Pistons, Wizards, however you want to look at it, they're going to get somebody.
Yep.
They're going to get somebody. If you do not go into that game with the right mentality, go in there and work hard, because they're still a professional team. And I know a lot of people, Zion got a game winner, but it's against, the Spurs. But it's like, hey, just like if the Bucks are playing the Spurs, or Boston's playing the Spurs, you know what I'm saying? They'll do the same thing with them if they have a game winner. If one of their stars have a game winner. So, I mean, all that stuff, these are NBA teams still, and they can get you. They can get you.
Yeah.
So, the mentality of coming into this game was very important. And they didn't really show that in the first half, but it really picked up in that second half. And I like that, because the thing is, it was almost like you could see growth in a transition within this game. And I know it's a game, but it's like, okay, that's better, but we got to find a way to put all 4 quarters together and not just 1.5 quarters.
Yeah, this was like I said, this really pushed the Pelicans, man. And we know they were missing Larry and Herb and the thing, but the Pelicans are a deep team, man. Scrappy game. We're gonna have some of these ugly wins where they have to gut it out, but it just
got to learn how to win those ugly wins, though.
You got to, especially when you are contributing to the ugliness. When you're not matching their effort. You're not playing defense smartly and intelligently. Willie, credit you gave him credit, and credit to you for giving Willie credit on that late ass subbing in Jose Alvarado. I was screaming for that in the first half of the game. I wanted to see Jose Alvarado. It was very clear that the Pelicans needed his spark, and ultimately Willie did in the second half put him in there. But and like I said, man, we got the win in this one, man, and I guess it's we got a lot of stuff to improve upon. Let me touch on a few individual stats and team stats before we kind of move this thing forward into the Toronto matchup. But Pelicans tonight, 46 of 95 for 48.4%. They were a dreadful 7 of 26 from downtown for 27%, 15 of 21 from the foul line in this matchup for 71.4%. Out rebounded 55 to 39, 18 offensive rebounds by the Spurs. They did a really good job there. The Pelicans, 29 assists versus 35 by the Spurs. They had 14 steals. The Pelicans had tonight, 14 steals, in this game. The Spurs had 10 blocks in the matchup. Pelicans single digits in terms of turnovers. They only had 9 turnovers tonight. 9 turnovers tonight. Spurs double that with 18. And of course, you look at the points in the paint. Spurs did their thing, 62 to 58 ultimately. the Pelicans come out with the win. They lead 3-0 in the series. And when we talk about the individual statistics, Zion Williamson was the man, 33 points in 36 minutes of action, 12 of 21 from the field. He was 9 of 13 from the foul line tonight, finished 33 points, 8 boards, 4 assists in the block, and plus 15 in the plus minus for Mr. Zion Williamson. CJ McCollum was the second leading scorer for the Pelicans, plus 13 on the plus minus, 21 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. For him on 8 of 17 shooting from the field, 3 of 10 from downtown. He was 50% from the foul line, 2 of 4, 19 from BI, 36 minutes of action with 6 assists, 4 boards. In the matchup, he was perfect from the foul line, downtown, 1 of 2, 7 of 15 from the field, 18 from Val, and 9 rebounds, just one shy of a double-double for Big V in the matchup with 27 minutes of action tonight in the game. Trey Murphy played 27 minutes of action, only scored 9 points, kind of struggling a little bit there. Well, tonight he was 4 of 9 shooting from the field, 1 of 2 from downtown. He finished with 9 points and a rebound. And, of course, off the bench, you've seen Jose Alvarado really come in and help lift the Pelicans with his defense. He was plus 9 in the 19 minutes he played, 3 of 7 from the field. He hit a couple of 3-point shots, 2 of 5 from downtown for 8 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals. And like I said, plus 9 for Jose Alvarado in the matchup, plus 20 for Dyson tonight, even though he gave you just 2 points, but 5 assists, 6 rebounds, 3 steals. He was in there playing defense in the 21 minutes that he played in the game. Jordan Hawkins only 2 points tonight from him. And Najee finished with 1 of 6, 2 points, 3 rebounds, a couple assists, a steal, and he was in there doing some hustle stuff. Plus minus didn't look too good for him tonight. Plus 6 for Cody Zeller. Got in there and made a few plays when Willie gave him 8 minutes of action tonight. So, with that being said, Lex, anything you want to add on top of the Spurs, man? Because listen, this was one right. It was kind of a frustrating Friday for me to watch it. I just didn't like some of the spots with the bad basketball the Pelicans were playing. They were gutsy, but what really soured the game, you made mention to this early in the broadcast, was the refereeing. I mean, the calls, the guys slapping at Zion, fouling him. They did give him, 13 attempts tonight. But outside of that, it should have been a lot higher than that. It's just, I think systemically, and I've been saying this, one thing that people can agree upon about the NBA officiating is that they're not consistent, not at all.
No,
but
not.
they are consistently across the NBA in how they poorly officiate Zion Williamson, which means it's a systemic problem. I think this is something that the NBA is telling these dumbasses to do this design, because it's not coincidental that he gets hacked hard and they're not giving him the foul. He hopped up like I thought they were going to tee him up when he got the guy hit him on his arm. He falls down. The guy hacks him on the dunk. That's why he missed the dunk, because the guy smacked him. And it
was right there in front of, like, these were obvious. Like, you could see them. Like, you didn't even have to go to the replay.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you all are right there. I mean, it just and I can understand, and I'm glad Zion was fighting as far as continuing to play, because I know we get on Zion about, hey man, you can't complain about the call, but hey man, that has to be frustrating.
Oh yeah.
Knowing that you are fouled. And I don't know if you all have ever played, but I can understand why that would, it's like everything stops. Y'all need to do y'all's job, because it does feel like that sometimes. But I'm really glad that he kept his composure. He could have got a technical, and if he got a tech, I would have totally understood that, because he's well within his rights. He has every right to argue that call. Like, dude, you have to, man, you can't, something like that. I mean, all on the arm, nowhere near the ball. You have to make that call. And it's not giving me anything. The call is the call. That's the right call. It's not something that's like fabricated, like, oh, well, maybe he could have got touched. Even their analysts, the Spurs analysts, were saying, man, they even admitted, man, Zion is getting hacked. These are their analysts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk about honesty. That's like true honesty right there. Knowing, like, man, I mean, we can't defend that, man. I mean, he was fouled. So I mean, that just goes to show that other people do see it, even if they're playing for the other opposing team. They see it.
Yeah, this is and like I said, there's no excuse for this level of it. This is borderline. This is being not borderline. It's definitely on the other side. It just criminally ridiculous. The officiating, they're sitting right there. You can see the obvious fouls, and then of course they go down there and the guy barely touches him. He gets the call. I don't know. It floors me how stupid these referees. And I'm gonna be hardcore with them because you don't deserve. I'm not gonna credit you and give you any respect. You're supposed to be a professional NBA referee, and you are blowing calls like that are clear and obvious. Some of those calls you can hear them hitting him and fouling, and you standing up there with the whistle in your goddamn mouth and justifying not making that call. And it's just criminally I ain't gonna even say incompetent, because I think it's a lot worse than that, because it's systemic, because it's different officiating crews doing the same thing to this guy. He's not getting these calls.
And it shouldn't be according to his body.
No, it don't have.
It's like it really doesn't. I think there's too much emphasis on, Zion, he's getting those Shaquille O'Neal calls. No, the thing is, if you're fouled, it doesn't matter how big or skinny you are.
Mm-hmm.
It really doesn't. If you're going across someone's arms, it's a foul.
Correct.
That has nothing to do with your unique body shape or whatever. It really doesn't. I mean, I don't know where they come up with that stuff, but it's like, they got to fix that. They got to fix that. Cuz this has been going on all season. And the thing is, I know Willie said many a times, man, we have to earn those calls. Man, I'm done with all that. Call the game.
Yeah, that's
keep the integrity of the game and call the game correctly. And hey, I'm an officiator right now. I officiate middle schoolers. You know what I'm saying? And one thing, the biggest thing about officiating, you're not always going to, you're going to make mistakes, just like players do. But it's about consistency. It's about consistency. That's all it is. If you're going to let contact go on one end, make sure you do it on the other.
Right.
Reciprocate.
But that's not what they're doing though, Lex.
No, they ain't doing that.
No, they're not doing that. It's totally inconsistent. It's he gets brutally hacked on one side, like they knocked him down. He hops up and goes at the referee like that's not a foul. Where's the foul? So I mean, it's undeniable. And like I said, it's not just that officiating crew that we seen in this matchup. They all do the same thing. They all do the same thing. They deny him his calls. And then he has to throw his head back. He has to yell and yelp and do all this other stuff just to draw their attention. And they're saying, well, you're going to have to do a little extra stuff to do it. And that's like Antonio Daniels saying, you got to play the game inside of the game. And I get that to a degree, but these people have to do their jobs. But like I was saying, they're not protecting these players when they allow guys to get hacked like that. But SGA can go in there and do some dumb shit and end up getting sent to the line 10 times a night. So I mean, it's ridiculous, man. At the end of the day, body types don't have a damn thing to do with it. It's the foul's a foul. If the guy comes across and hits the guy on his arm, you got to call a foul. So I mean, like I said, it's and yeah, you speaking from a professional sense, but I know damn well that you're not going to let nothing like that happen in any game you officiate.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
All right, so let's move it along, man. Let's go to the next one here. The next up for the Pels, they come home for a one-game matchup against home game against the Toronto Raptors, and currently the Raptors not a very good team. They won like one game in the last 6 or 7 games. They're not very good right now, but we do have another. We played the Spurs tonight, so we can't go to sleep on anybody. This team is actually 7 wins better than the Spurs team that we played tonight. They're 17-31, 7-18 on the road. They do have Scotty Barnes and several other really good players. I don't know if RJ Barrett's going to be good to go in this matchup, but the Pelicans will face off against the Toronto Raptors in the Smoothie King Center. Listen, Lex, this will be on the 5th, which we have a few days until that happens. Pelicans come home and get a little home cooking after that long road trip. So, and we talk about matching the energy and the intensity of these teams that we're playing. And of course, you can see the matchup indicator right there, just thoroughly running over the Spurs. I'm pretty sure that's it. If I go back in my memory and remember what it was for the Spurs, I'm thinking they had a big blowout situation. So we know that's gambling purposes. But the first of the two matchups against the Raptors starts coming up on the 5th. So what needs to happen for the Pelicans to claim a victory against the Toronto Raptors?
Well, definitely, I don't want them to come out how they came out against the Spurs. We definitely have to get off to better starts. We don't want to go down in that department. But like I always say, energy. We got to come out, play with a lot of energy. Like you said, coming off the road, coming home, first game at home after, being on the road for days. You got to come out, get off to a good start. Get off to a good start. Play to our strengths. I do believe they are vulnerable on the inside. Again, the inside game is the bread and butter of this team. So we need to get it down to Zion, get it down to Jonas. Let them cook down there. Let them open up for the perimeter. Guys be ready to shoot. Right now, that's one thing that we don't consistently go to all the time, even though it's been confirmed that it works. I would like to, definitely put the ball in Zion's hands. I kind of feel like the emphasis of putting the ball in his hands was kind of like a publicity stunt, because they still go away from that, or you don't really see it a whole lot. But against it, I think after I think BI and CJ, I think after they turned the ball over in that third quarter, that's when they decided to give it to him. But we don't want to wait until something like that happens. You know what I'm saying? Especially if he has it going. But I don't know if we're still doing that, if that's still the game plan. But I know it's, they've been going away from it. But definitely, again, good things happen when we use that. Got to defend, push pace, move the ball, player movement, and stay connected. I really do think, we can get this win. Again, just like with the Spurs, I don't want the Pelicans to play down to the competition. Look, you need to take ownership and look at this game as look, this is not about Toronto. Toronto's not really doing the greatest right now, but we need to really take ownership of this game and get better. Let's go up a notch. Let's grow in the areas and work on the areas that we need to get better in. And that was the same type of mentality going into the Spurs game, because it's easy to play down to the competition when someone is not doing well, or you're looking at their record and it's like, oh, y'all ain't about to do nothing. No, don't come in. Yeah, Slim, exactly. We got to come in with the attitude that, we got to get it. Put the foot on the gas, keep it on the gas, and get this win, because it's a message. This isn't just about this game. It's about this game and moving forward. So, just got to have that mentality, because we have to start building those playoff tendencies. And I think this, again, with the Spurs, it's a start, but it's like more consistency, all of that stuff. You know, there's still like just long stretches in the game where you're not consistent, where the ball's not moving, where the effort is not there. That is a problem for this team still. And we can't nullify that just because we're playing a team that is not looking good or doesn't have the greatest record. No, take this moment and work on those things so that when you get to the better teams, you've had those reps in, you've been working on it, you've built those habits, and now you can carry those habits over to the better teams.
Indeed, Lex. We got the Western Conference standings on the screen for the Pelican faithful. 28-21, the Pelicans currently stand. 2-game winning streak, could be 3 in a couple of days against the Toronto Raptors. And Lex, you're 100% right. With this Raptor team, they have several really good players that the Pelicans going to have to deal with. And like we said, you made the you made the comment about what the Pelicans were doing to start the game off, and like you made mention of, what was the phrase that you used? You said window dressing. Was that it? What was the turn of phrase you used in terms of them going away from the Zion Williamson strategy? Because it could be, because listen,
a publicity,
publicity.
yeah, publicity stunt. Yeah, because they went through that whole charade of like, yeah, we're gonna really put it in his hands. But
right. It would happen. That's
it's not.
We started.
It really hasn't been there. It looks the same to me. I'm gonna be honest. It looks the same.
But see, and we've mentioned this ad nauseum here. We've talked about the fact that the Pelicans use different people to handle the ball because they don't have a guy that would, like, traditionally speaking, most people have a point guard that kind of sets up everything. And the Pelicans use a point guard by committee approach. And sometimes our guys, BI and Zion Williamson, they're clumsy with the ball. Sometimes they throw the ball where it doesn't belong. They don't see the court correctly. They don't, you see what I'm saying? And then they'll, if a guy's struggling with the ball, they'll cycle to the next guy and then to the next guy. But like we said, we covered this on the previous stream about the Pelicans. Ultimately, the rumor mill is that they're looking for a point guard. Maybe not now. They're looking for a rim protecting big. But eventually down the line, they're looking at a point guard, which makes sense. But from right now, it appears that the Zion Williamson, him handling the ball and starting the game off, keeps him involved in the game. Even though he got involved in this game, he was really ferocious in this game in terms of them hacking him and him becoming emotionally involved and charged to keep going at him and force the referees to make these, to make the call. And I was looking at that early on. Those were two things that kind of I seen very glaringly, was not the use of the Zion Williamson at point situation. And of course, ultimately they did bring Jose Alvarado, and I was calling for Jose to get in the goddamn game in the first half, that we could have kind of made it a little bit better. So anyway, with that being said, I don't know, do they go back to the Zion thing for the matchup against the Toronto Raptors? I don't know, man. Like you said,
well, the thing is,
do they really believe in it like that? I mean, why not employ it against the Spurs if you really, use that to build upon it, if that's what it's supposed to be? I don't know what he's doing.
Think of it this way, on media day, Brandon said that Borrego was going to have the ball in his hands a lot. As far as usage rate, and BI predominantly has the ball. So that basically means that he's going to get acclimated in the game very quickly. We've been seeing that basically for the first half. And every now and then you'll see like stints where Zion, they use a little bit of point Zion, but it's for a small amount of time. And my thing is look, you put emphasis on, just last Wednesday? Was it last Wednesday? I don't know, but it was against Utah.
Right.
In the presser for Willie Green's presser, he said, you're emphasizing you're going to get the ball to Zion more. If you're going to do that, it's almost like you have to over exaggerate, especially with this team, because I still feel the same as far as Zion still deals with a lot of things plagued by the Alvin Gentry days, where he's in the game and he's going long stretches without touching the ball. And it's like we have a great talent on the court and we're not even using him sometimes.
Yeah.
That can't happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we not utilizing this juggernaut force right here who has gravity like no other to open up for guys, to get you open shots? Like, we have to use that. And, it still looks the same to me. I kind of feel like they go to the point, Zion, when, okay, CJ, you aren't doing too hot. BI, you're not doing too hot. All right, Zion, I guess we'll give you the ball. You know what I'm saying? I kind of feel like it's that type of attitude. Like when, there's turnovers, they don't have anything going, there's nothing happening. All right, everything is kind of like looking bad right now. All right, Zion, you take it. And then he makes something happen. It's like, okay, yeah, we got things going now. Look, we got things going now. And then they start going away from him. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's crazy how that works sometimes, but it's not consistent. It hasn't been consistent. That's still a huge work in progress.
Yeah, I don't understand the full utilization of your best assets. Like if you see a guy like Big Jonas, how he had it, he could have dominated, really took over in this matchup too. And usually when you see smaller teams can't compete with Jonas, you use these guys to get it done. And at times in the game, like even though in this matchup Zion was really aggressive and he got involved with all the hacking that was going on, during some of these games you kind of look at Zion kind of have more of a sub role and a sub feel to it. Like, and I allude to, because I often find myself watching the television, seeing Zion there and say, okay, Zion, go to work. Okay, you got the 1-on-1, go to work, Zion, go to work. He'll have a situation, he'll just defer, and he don't want to take, he'll defer. And oftentimes I find myself like, man, you're supposed to be a star, bro. You got to do this, do that. And tonight he pulled in the 30-point effort tonight. And I guess when you look at it overall, Lexi, and we see, because there was nobody that they had that they could throw at him.
No,
that could slow him down, and that was for the last several opponents outside of what
yeah,
Milwaukee team.
man, I
mean,
really wanted to
6
get
or
that
3.
Celtics game, man,
Yeah,
because we needed to pound it down low. They didn't have anybody down low in that Celtics game. They were vulnerable in their front court,
right.
and we were going away from it. We went away from what was working, because they were having problems. They couldn't do anything, and sometimes I kind of feel like it's really collectively what the team is doing and understanding what's the niche of the game, what's the mismatches, what's our bread and butter. And we continue to go away from those things. And if we keep staying on them, it's like we'll get the results that we're looking for, because that Boston game was a winnable game. It really was.
Indeed. Yeah, it was definitely that. And so and I probably know the answer to this, Lex. I'm gonna throw this out here anyway to
Okay.
you and to the family members. Do anybody, now you just alluded to some of it, but let's talk about Willie's coaching up to this point, right? So like we got on stream, we got the standings here. The team is 28-21, right?
Mhm.
7 in, tied with, I guess, 6 with the Suns right here. About Willie's coaching, do you, and I don't want you to hold back.
Oh,
I
I'm
want
not.
I want you to tell me the absolute hellish truth
Mhm.
about how you feel about Willie's coaching from early on in this season to now. Is there an improvement there? And I want the family members to answer that question as well in the chat. What do you guys think about Willie Green's coaching up to this point? Lex, the floor is yours.
My answer is no. It's definitely no. He's been consistently inconsistent with how he coaches. He sticks with things that don't work because his default is always defense. Now, I will say in this Spurs game, he almost tripped up. Like I told you, he did something. He actually made the right decisions. Now, with Zion coming in, when he pulled Zion out at 6:09 and brought him back at 5:10, he responded a whole lot quicker than what he usually does in this game. But one game is not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? When he brought in Jose in the second half, that was a good adjustment there. But again, how often does he do that? He did it tonight, but I can't base from the beginning of the season up till now just off this one game. He made those 2 changes, and again, they could have, because they went up by like 6 once he set Zion down. And Zion had it going. And then when he came back in, Zion had to find his rhythm again and all that stuff and get acclimated in the game. And I think he responded well. But yeah, Willie's gonna have to do more. He's gonna have to show more. You know, I think he's talked about the team, you know, make the team being accountable and doing things like, hey, you know, giving the other team credit and different things. And I'm like, Willie, you need to take accountability of the things that you're not doing right, buddy. You really do. Because some of your decision making, and we've all talked about his rotations. I've talked about his adjustments, like they're delayed or he doesn't make them at all, or, you know, and it's just a bad decision. Like, what were you thinking? Like, that made absolutely no sense. Those things right there, I mean, I haven't seen enough of things that he did in this game today. I haven't seen enough of it. So I can't say that he's grown, because it's like the next game against the Raptors, he could go back to what he usually does. And that's one thing, a problem that we've been seeing with the team is the team falling back into bad habits, falling back into old tendencies. If we're trying to be a playoff team, and again, I always ask this question, what type of team do we want this? Is this Pelicans team? Or do you want this Pelicans team to be? A borderline playing team, a playing team, a top 6 team, or a top tier team? And if the answer is, you know, we want to be a legitimate playoff contending team, Willie's not it. He's just not it.
Lex, I'm gonna have to, you know, I've been supporting Willie Green since he's been here, and I'm gonna have to agree with you. Because he's been here for 3 years.
Mhm.
3 years. And I know I'm not looking for Willie to be perfect, but I'm really the adjustments, in-game adjustments, the knowing his personnel, knowing when to put players in the game at certain periods of time. Jose Alvarado should have been in the game. And listen, I'm not taking away from the fact that the Pelicans won the game. I'm saying you recognize in the second quarter that you needed Jose Alvarado's spark. I did. Seeing it, like, man, we need Jose Alvarado, because even though Dice is doing his thing, he's not giving us any offensive production here. We need somebody that's going to kind of give us a little flash right here. We know Larry Nance is not there. Herb is not there, obviously. But Jose, if anything, is going to give you the kind of spark that you need. And when Willie finally put him in the second half of the game, you can see the changes occur. Now, he didn't fix everything. He did give the Pelicans a spark. Him and Najee did some very positive things offensively and defensively with some hustle. But ultimately, we talk about his adjustments being somewhat delayed and not on time. In his third and final year, you would want to see exponential progress from one
growth.
to three. Yes. And if anything, to be honest, all you can really say about Willie Green is whatever progress he's had. And I think he's had some progress. If it is incremental at best. So I'm not seeing anything and say, man, boy, Willie was in the first year, he was kind of slacking on his strategy, but in the third year, boy, a light went on. I don't see that at all, man. I'm gonna just be honest with you.
The thing is like, you know how for players in their rookie season, how they have a great rookie season, but what do they say about the sophomore year?
Struggle.
A lot of times, guess what? The scouting report is out on you. Everybody understands your game. The sophomore year is usually the most challenging year for a lot of rookie players going into their second year. And it's the same thing with Willie. That's basically what happened. No one knew his strategy. No one knew his style. They had to learn it. Other coaches had to learn it. Other players had to learn it. Guess what? They understand your tendencies just like players. They understand what you're going to do. This isn't just about the players' abilities to, they call it a sophomore slump, Slim. That's correct. They're not just, they're going to make the adjustment. And that's how you know if you're growing or if you're stagnant or you're staying the same or something like that. So you have some guys who can rise to the occasion. And it's like, nah, I've added more to my game, or that like I'm really an unstoppable player. They understand your game. After that first year, there's data now. There's data out there that teams can go and look back at to see, okay, all right, yeah, he favors his right hand. Okay, so he goes right, and then after 2 dribbles, he goes left.
Let them
and
scouting
then
reports.
go up. You know what I'm saying? They have those details. They have those tendencies down.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with coaching.
Yeah.
That's why you have to what's the word I'm looking for? You have to reinvent yourself. You have to add on to your game. You have to make changes to your game. You have to add new moves to your game. You gotta improve your game, because if it's staying the same for too long, teams are going to adjust. The coaching is going to adjust. Other players are going to adjust. And when they do that, you find yourself like, okay, well, what happened? I was cold last year. Yeah, dog, you were cold last year. But guess what? This is year 2.
Right.
This is year 3. People are adjusting. They're getting accustomed to your game. So the thing is that growing every single year is very important. You cannot stay the same. You have to do something different, whether it's improving your defense, improving your hustle, improving your handles, improving your shot, improving your understanding of the game, what you're trying to do, being in better spots, making better decisions on defense. All those things matter. All that stuff is being studied.
Yeah, you're right, Lex. The great late Kobe Bryant was one that studied the hell out scouting reports. I mean, he was notorious for studying those scouting reports, and he would use that information to stop his opponents. He knows that if guys that like to go right, he would force them left. He knew all of the tendencies. He often talked about that, understanding the seriousness of the game and the details in the game, the data, as you call it. He utilizes that, and most really good coaches and players utilize those scouting reports, man, to formulate a game plan to defeat the team that you're playing. They know the pluses and minuses of these teams, and you're absolutely right. Adjusting to them is one thing, but I often find even guys that some of these coaches in the NBA, like OKC coach, I think his name is Dagnott or whatever. That guy outcoached Willie. You
Yeah.
know, you've seen several other
And
players,
with
I
the
mean,
young
coaches,
team,
right?
the young team.
And I often found, because me and my father was talking about this the other day. He was talking about Willie Green. It's like, I don't think Willie Green is the man. I said, I was like, yeah, it look like he is a guy that, he has a fantastic team, man. If he could find a way to keep them consistent and we could be dominating. We could be a top 3 team in the NBA right now if he was on his game. If you take a coach like the former Milwaukee coach that they had, not the guy,
Adrian Griffin.
not Griffin, but
yeah, he's the old Spurs assistant coach.
yeah, that's right, Coach Bud.
Yeah.
Coach Bud Hoser, I think his name is.
Yeah,
Coach
Budenhauser.
If you had, and listen, we could throw a bunch of them up there, but if you had Coach Bud here, the Pelicans would be a top 3 team in the NBA. They would be a top 3 team because he knows what the hell he's doing. He would have the Pelicans buzzing. And it is what it is. We get a new coach in his 3rd year. So Stephanie has the great question: do y'all think he will be coaching this team next year? And Melanin Guy made a good response, and it's similar to the response that I would give, which is if the Pelicans, and I do think they'll get into the playoffs. If they get into the playoffs and they win a series, because that's what we anticipate, not just you getting there, but actually winning a series, I think the brass would definitely think about bringing Willie back. I mean, that's the sticking point. We might not like that, but in the end, Griffin, I could see Griffin giving Willie Green a contract or extending his agreement because the Pelicans were not only able to get into the playoffs, but they were able to win a playoff series. And truth be told, they have enough talent to do that. So I think Willie, as long as he does just that, I think that they will extend Willie. What you think about that, Lex?
I mean, I don't know. I just saw what Melanin Guy put down. When you have multiple sport commentators from different oppositions questioning Willie's rotations on live television, that's embarrassing. And I agree with that.
That is true.
That's not the only time. And I actually go on League Pass. I actually go and listen to other analysts. Memphis analysts, they did the same exact thing. Same exact thing. Like, and you asked me, jokingly, like, what did they say about Willie Green? Like, as far as the coaches, no one is really marveling at Willie's coaching, his style, his strategies, his decisions.
What about the Washington Wizards? Are they marveling at Willie's strategies and his rotations? Do you think? Oh yeah, okay. Lex, how about Charlotte, Orlando, Brooklyn? Anybody marveling at Willie strategy?
No, nobody is. Nobody. Look, Borrego took, stepped in for Willie when he was sick. And Antonio Daniels said this. He said this.
Yep.
He said, man, what is his name? Jason Kidd came up to him and said, oh man, Borrego's coaching. He already knew it was gonna be a problem. He had a disconcerted look on his face, like, oh man, this ain't good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Willie's not getting those types of responses.
Willie gets the good, like Willie's a cool dude type thing.
Yeah, basically. It's like, yeah, he has great character. I'm like, okay, but what about him as a basketball coach? He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. Willie's nice, man. Yeah. He doesn't curse.
I don't care about that. I mean, the thing is, you can.
That's all they can say, Lex, about Willie.
Whether you curse or not, man. Hey, if you're a good coach, you're a good coach. It's not always about the words that you saying and stuff like that. It's how you say it and that connection between you and your players. It's more so about the delivery, not so much the wording. So, I mean, whether he did that or not, it's like even if he did curse, Big Q, I mean, would the strategies be there? Would he
Uh,
be making good adjustments? Would his
no,
rotations get better?
no, it'd just be funny to hear him curse at him. I mean, but outside of that, I think it would undermine him to a degree for him to be cursing at him, and I think that'll bring out more negative traits from the players because it ultimately will start criticizing his rotations. I don't think they're doing it now because they respect his character. But if that was, I think it'll create cracks in his armor where they that it'll create a negative wave against him. It kind of it'll reflect on him poorly. So I understand Willie's patience, his approach, because the truth of the matter is we all know that the Pelicans ultimately are going to get into the playoffs. We know that. It's a question of where do they get? We want them to be inside of the top,
Well,
5
hey,
teams.
we still got work to do, man. I
We
mean,
do.
'cause,
But
you know, I
you are,
mean, because
so you
I want to
disagree
believe
with me
that
on
too,
that, Lex?
but
Are you disagreeing with this?
no,
Okay.
I want them to make the playoffs, but again, changes have to be made, Big Q. They got to be
Indeed.
made because
Indeed.
I mean, look at this. Look at that what the Western Conference standings, man. That you got 3 teams that got 28 wins. That's the Kings, the Suns, and the Pelicans. We got to break away. We can't be up and down with these ebbs and flows, and it's drastic. It's like one night we're all the way, like we're on a high, we're doing well, and then the next game it's like a huge drop. We can't have games like that.
Right. Yeah, you're right. You're
I mean,
right.
that's almost like that monitor that detects your heartbeat and everything.
Mhm.
When it's wide up and wide down, that ain't good. You know what I'm
No.
saying? When you see that gap, that means it's taking too long for it to get to the next beat. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
we need to like make it more closer. You know what I'm saying? We need to shorten that gap and make it more steady and being more consistent and not having blowout win, all right, blowout loss. Blowout win, really bad blowout loss. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Back blown out loss.
we can't do that. Gotta stop doing that.
Well, yeah, this is true. I mean, there's definitely have to have some type of normalization. I mean, the Pelicans, but like I said, it's just I don't. It's just concerning, man. To see them, they're up and down like tonight's game. It shouldn't have been the case, but they created. Even though the Spurs had all the effort in the world, they played their hearts out. Pelicans allowed the Spurs to have opportunities. Poor rebounding, bad defense, miscommunication on the defense, low IQ in aspects of the game. Late substitute. I still say the Willie Green substitution of Jose Alvarado should have happened in the second quarter, not just in the second half of the game. I knew and was looking at it, said this is an area of the game where we needed Jose in the game. Eventually, he did cycle him in. Ultimately, he did cycle him in, and I see Willie. I don't know if he's going to pick it up fast enough. But then again, this is not an organization, and I hate to say this because Tasha and Sean just gonna love this shit. Maybe I shouldn't say it because
Well, it's being honest. I mean,
yeah, but
I mean,
Lex, I'm the and Tasha and Sean say I'm the president of the petty committee, and I do stuff, the petty stuff, just all in the good name of fun and stuff like that,
mhm.
like I pop a picture like up this on the screen right here, y'all know who I'm aiming at, but but the reality is, I do understand that the Pelicans as an organization, since they've been here, have not had like that coach to take them to the next level. I think the best coach that we've ever
No.
had was Monty Williams. Our general managers were they weren't the best guys in the world. Even when the Pelicans had an opportunity to get Joe Dumars many years ago, and they created the VP job because there was no vice president of basketball operations. It was just a general manager. The VP job was created to lure Joe Dumars here. But when Joe Dumars told Tom Benson, who was alive at the time, his cost to be the vice president of basketball operations, Tom Benson backed out of it, took the job, and gave it to Dale Demps. So, you know, it goes to what kind of leadership we have. You're owning a basketball team. You got to be able to hire basketball people to run the team. So the Pelicans have guys that they had. Some of these guys had some experience. I think, don't forget Byron Scott. Byron Scott had some success here ultimately before all that J.R. Smith stuff happened. But it's just, we haven't had that kind of coach, like a championship coach with championship pedigree, to come here and bring that type of energy to the Pelicans. They've always looked for these coaches, either cheap new coaches with potential, like when we reached out with Willie, or David Griffin did a terrible job reaching out to Stan Van Gundy. The guy was commentating, ain't coach in years. Prior to that, he was a general manager effing up Detroit. And they say, hey, you want a job? And bring him in. And then they had flirtations with Doc Rivers, who spurring them to go to Philly, who ended up firing him. So, I mean, it's just amazing. We settled with Willie, and this is where we are. We're a very heavy potential-led team with a lot of really good players, and we have a coach that we hope picks it up fast enough to learn his personnel and not getting in the way of stopping them from being
You know
successful.
what? That's sad that you're saying that 3 years and you don't know your player personnel.
It just shows, though, Lex.
Because I feel like I feel the same way. I feel like he doesn't know the strengths and weaknesses of his players. And then again, we talk about the hierarchy, like, because we're playing a lot of different ways. You know how with other teams they're playing one way, like, and they master playing that way because first of all, it keeps down confusion and it allows players to understand their roles and how they can contribute to the team. That's not clear on this team. We still see moments where Zion's in the corner, or these past few games, Jonas was in the corner and he was shooting threes from the corner. Like, what? Where did that come from? You know, it's things like that. Like, why is he over there? You know what I'm saying? Like, I had never seen that. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's things like that that just don't make sense. I've said this before. You know, I've talked about the chemistry of Zion and BI. I don't feel like it's grown. I feel like that stuff is stagnant. And by their chemistry being stagnant, it's not there. Because if it's staying the same, whatever is there is staying the same, that means you're not growing. So that means it's getting worse. They don't play off of each other enough. I just feel like I don't know what they work on. Every once in a blue moon they connect, but I just feel like their chemistry is not where it needs to be when you're talking about they are the duo of the Pelicans. I don't see that. Let alone, I definitely don't see the best freaking duo. And I know a lot of people kind of laughed at me about that earlier in the season. Well, how do you all feel about that now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, it's not being used. They don't play off of each other. They have a lot of miscues still. I kind of feel like, you know, a lot of times one of them's trying to get the ball to the other, but not so much the other way around in specific situations, which is not all that great. But, you know, just where they are, it really hasn't grown too much. It looks much like last year. Well, actually, no, they didn't even play much last year. But really, I'll just stick to this season. It still looks the same.
See, that's the part of the game where a lot of people kind of give the Pelicans a little extra with it because of the injury situation that occurred, Lex, in the last several years, and them finally being, you know, on the court at the same time. It's, you know, and like I said, this is the first year that we've seen this many games from what is considered the core, which is Zion, BI, CJ. this is the first time we've seen them in a large sample size serving. So, you know,
Yeah.
and the people are, and even though the people, and listen, the family members are just like, man, they got to do something this year. They're right, because
Yeah.
that time window has lapsed, and now they have to, the pressure's on. They have to, you know, solidify this year. They have to show us something this year. So, I mean, listen, the Pelicans have everything they need now, of course, and I want to bring this up on us, is they're coming up on February the 8th, several days from now, the trade deadline is coming. So you keep hearing all this stuff, but still in all, Lex, I tell you one thing I haven't heard, and that's a new agreement for Jonas. That is
Yeah.
not what's being talked about. It's still
No.
very much looking at trading
Well,
for a rim protecting big. And
well,
you
you know,
mentioned
Nick
this.
Claxton, they just the Brooklyn Nets just opened up Nick Claxton for trade. I think they did that earlier today, either earlier today or yesterday. But they're putting him up for trade.
Yeah, I was looking at something about Isaiah Stewart, who was also somebody the Pels were looking at. Isaiah Stewart, man, he's hurt. He'll be. They said Isaiah has an ankle sprain, and that's over the next 14 days. So that might dampen whatever trade value that he has. So that was one of the guys the Pelicans were looking at. We were talking about Wendell Carter. He's another guy, the backup center for the Atlanta Hawks. He was another guy that they were looking at. And I think that guy's what,
Yeah.
6'8"?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
I think really though, because I know we mentioned Nick Claxton many a times, but Brooklyn, they weren't trying to move him. But now, because you know he's on an expiring contract, and his contract actually looks pretty good. It's a very tradable contract. Because I think he's making like $8 million or something like that.
yeah, Claxton, man. And you know what, Lex, that is 9.6 is what he's making.
Oh, okay.
9.6, almost 10 mil. Let me get his
My bad. Off
no,
by a
yeah.
couple of million.
Well, you brought them up because I was looking at his numbers, man. Look at them numbers. 12.4 and 10.4. So there you
Yeah,
go.
so he's a walking double-double.
He ain't the heaviest person in the world. He's tall. He's a beanpole,
Yeah.
6'11", 215. But
And he runs the floor well. I
he
don't know how
does.
he does on his free throws.
Well, I can look that up right now and see what he got done. I got the
I
statistics.
know how serious you are on the free throws, but
Oh yeah. And look at I'll be fussing at him. This dude is 55%.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
wow.
yeah,
But you see what I'm saying though?
yes.
Again, the opportunity cost when you're trading for a defensive big man, what are you giving up? Because
Right.
Jonas can shoot free throws. He can
I think
shoot them.
I think what's scaring the Pelicans off of Jonas is his age and what he's asking for, because they were looking at Jared, and Jared makes 20 million a season. From last time I remember checking into his numbers, I think he makes like 20 million a year. And I think if roughly word on the street is that's I think that's what Jonas is looking at. He wants around that number. And the Pelicans are not willing to give him that kind of number because they want more of a switch all center, a guy that runs the floor well, plays defense, and protects the rim. That's what they're really looking at doing. So the Nick Claxton thing is not bad if they're looking at him. I know it was another rumor that was circulating around Bridges that the Pelicans were interested
They're
in getting
not.
Bridges if he
Yeah.
becomes available.
Brooklyn just came out and said, look, we're not looking to trade. They've had to do that like a few times because everybody's like, okay, are you ready to come up off of him? But they're trying to build their team around Bridges.
Mhm.
So they have to continue to tell teams that they're not trying, like, he's off the market. He's not tradable.
Yeah, that dude there is. I know the Pelicans were looking at him and several other players, man. But yeah, we're getting close to the to the trade deadline, and like I said, I don't see anything saying that the Pelicans are going to hold on to Big V. I don't see anything. It's still they're searching for the best possible rim running or rim protecting big that can help them there. And Lex, you're right. Val is a big he's a big force. He's a big force of what the Pelicans can do. But it seemed like the writing is on the wall, man, with them on that. I'm not hearing anything to the contrary of them keeping him. I mean, for them keeping him, say, yeah, we want him here. None of that's happening. It's kind of already written on the wall from what I'm seeing and what the word on the street is. So we'll see. And also, like I covered this on the previous show, one of the rumors that was circulating, like that they're willing to throw Dyson Daniels in the deal if the price is right. So I don't know how true that is, but like you said, when we coming up to this point of the season around the trade deadline, you start hearing all of this stuff. You never know. It's hard to determine what's real and what's not real. But then again, some of the stuff that we were hearing in the trade deadline from last year with all the design stuff, I knew that was lies. I knew that was a bunch of lies because you could see it. But some of this stuff is murky. Like around I know Valanciunas, there is nothing that the Pelicans are putting out on the street or anywhere that's saying the Pels want Valanciunas to be here beyond this season. There is nothing out there for that. So it looks like they're settling on trying to move him in some kind of deal. So it's a matter of time before we see it. We even seen Steven Adams get traded. So I mean, he got packaged and shipped to what was it? Houston?
They had been talking about that for a while. Yeah, and they got Victor Oladipo, but that was more so about the Grizzlies moving cap space, making room for cap space. And also they're looking to get some pretty good draft picks as well. Because this was a down year for them. But the thing is, I mean, between Job not being available for 25 games, he came back and he played for 6 or 9 games. And then he did something with his shoulder. Their team is basically still intact. They just need to get healthy. I mean, they kind of like the same boat the Pelicans were in, a year ago, 2 years ago, because we weren't healthy either. But yeah, they're reeing up. They're retooling, I guess you could say. I'm so sick about that, man. Carl Weathers. So horrible news.
Yeah, rest in peace to Carl Weathers, man. St. Aug, man. A lot of people didn't know he was from down here, but yeah, he was, man. A lot of people from New Orleans, man, you don't know about. A lot of them are. They just don't claim it. Like Clyde Drexler, he's born down here, even though he doesn't really claim it. There's a lot of people that come from down here, man. But yeah, Carl Weathers, man. Shout out to Carl Weathers, man. He was awesome, man. Did a lot of great things. The Rocky movies was,
those were solid. Those were classics.
Yeah, he was awesome in those movies. He did a really good job in the Predator movie. If y'all remember, Carl Weathers was in the Predator.
Yeah, he did. I didn't like his role in it, but he played it to a T, though.
Yeah, he was kind of the adversarial guy against Arnold in the movie. So I mean, but yeah, he was good. He was a great actor, man. And Carl Weathers, man, he transitioned to heaven, man. And shout out to Apollo Creed, man. I mean, he kind of reinvented himself too with these Disney movies. He was in the Mandarin, not the Mandarin. Help me out, y'all. Hold on. The Mandalorian. There you go. I should have realized that. Yeah, I should have realized that, man. So yeah, he kind of. I seen him in a commercial too, man. He was in he
was in Happy Gilmore too.
Yeah, that's right. The Happy Gilmore. He was in the latest the Grunt commercials. The kick commercials. That's the last time the commercials I see him. They still out playing right now with him picking up Gronk on a motorbike because he missed the kick in the last year, and he said, he just was recently on some stuff. He kind of came back, man, and reinvented himself. So yeah. So shout out to Carl Weathers, man. Rest in power to that brother, man. There it is right there. That's the one from the Predator movie with him.
Yeah.
Right, and Arnold. So yeah, shout out to that man, bro. A lot of great things that he was involved in, man. He played football a little bit too.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that. I mean, he was undrafted, but I mean, that's still pretty impressive to be able to play, play 14. He played for the Raiders.
I didn't know that. Garrett Morris went to Dillon. Yeah, see, there's a lot of people, man. Yeah, I know that tragic. He was born at Charity Hospital, yeah. Oh yeah. 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 See, I didn't realize Garrett Moore. I know he had a connection to New Orleans. I didn't know he was born. I know he had people down here. I didn't realize it was here. But yeah, it's a lot of people from down here, man. That are pretty popular and popping, So yeah, we got DC from down here. He's a star as well, man. He got an album coming out and a movie coming out. So y'all show our dog DC some love, man, on that new movie coming out
Oh
on
yeah.
Valentine's Day, man. DC. I was kind of mad at him in this scene because DC was getting lit, and
Yeah.
you can see right here, looked like he about to wreck the car, but he was in there
Yeah.
with them churn, and I said, bro, what you
Yeah.
doing, brother? You look at the churn, bro. The children laughing,
You'd be
bro.
surprised. A lot of people be doing that, man. It's awful. It's really sad. It ain't just Bob. It ain't just him. You know what I'm saying? I've heard stories of people like, yeah, when I was little, my pops was doing this. I'm like, what? Huh? Are you for real?
Yeah, it's a lot of craziness going on. Life was hard, okay, y'all. Life was hard, man, and the people had to deal with it the best way they can. We know a lot of that ain't perfect. We don't promote none of that, you know what I'm saying? But stuff can get real in the South, man. So
Mhm.
all right. So anyway, listen, man, we're gonna get ready to close the stream down. But hey, Lex, the Pelicans got the dub tonight. They
Yeah.
handled the business. They improved to 28-21. We got Toronto coming up in a couple of days. The Pelicans have that one home game that they can aim for a third straight win there and kind of gain some separation. But before we go, the January schedule. Let's go ahead, Lex. What you say?
Who did they have? What's the game after that game?
What is it? Is it Milwaukee? I want to hold on. Let me pull it up here. Give me just a second. Let me bring it up here. I pull up their schedule and see who they got going on. Because I want to say we got Milwaukee or one of them teams cycling back around. Hold on, let me see. Make sure. No, Clippers. You go back on the road.
That's
Lex.
the way.
You got 4. Yeah, you got 4 games. You hit the road after the home game against the Raptors. Hold on, let me see if I can pull their schedule up. Hold on. Yeah, you got hold on, here it is right here. Let me share it with you here. So you got the Raptors on Monday, February the 5th, at home. And then you go, that's just one game, and then you go back on the road. You got
that's gonna be on ESPN.
Yep, you got in the NBA TV got the Los Angeles game. I think that game is on local TV. That Los Angeles game is gonna be on.
And we got to show up and show out in those games, man.
Mm-hmm. That's the ones you show the nation what you're about. That is going to be a tough game. That Clipper matchup. The Clippers playing with a lot of energy. They got that new arena out there. They're really excited about that, man. The guy got that high-tech stadium. A lot of creepy stuff he got going on with the technology that I don't like to hear. But it's a very interesting and new stadium that they got right there. The Lakers matchup, NBA TV, and then of course Portland and then Memphis, and then they come home for 4 games against Washington, Houston, Miami, and Chicago. Looks like February is less. It's kind of kinder than that Memphis. I mean that January schedule.
January, the Pelicans had the hardest schedule in the league for the month of January.
Right, and they finished 8-7. Lex, so that's what I wanted to ask you about because you covered that on the flash report. We talked about what they look like in terms of what's going to happen and what we expect to see and what they will tell us about at the end of that January schedule. So they finished 8-7, facing all those tough teams. So what did we learn about our Pelicans after that stretch of games in January?
Absolutely nothing. Say it again, huh? Okay.
My bad. I thought we
I'm
were
sorry. I felt that coming. Let's see. It kind of showed me that we're not there. We're not at that level yet. That top tier level. We're not there yet. We still got a ways to go. Still got a ways to go, man. Like I said, they could have got that Boston game if they would have kept, going inside. But we have other gears that we need to other levels that we need to tap into before we are a top team, a legitimate contender And I think that's just the biggest thing right there. I mean, we have more work to do. We still gotta build better habits and not fall into the bad habits, fall into, bad tendencies. We just got to step up the game, step up the effort, step up on wanting the desire to win, that hunger. All those things matter, finishing games, executing down the stretch. And, we still have to get to that part where this team is built like that.
Yeah, it kind of always goes back to that Draymond Green thing. That kind of haunts the Pelicans until they
Yeah.
get their stuff together. It really does, man.
You got to
Keep
get
on
to
that
that level. I mean, it's levels to it, but we
Yes.
have to continue to practice it,
Mhm. Yeah, we gotta, man. I'm gonna tell you, Lex, and then we're gonna depart. But I think what we learned from the Pelicans, I think we learned a little something. I ain't gonna break on the song. But I think we did learn some stuff that they're not ready for the big boys. That's the bottom line.
Yeah,
Big
okay. Yeah,
teams,
I guess we did learn something then.
yeah,
My bad.
they're not good for the you talking about the echelon of the NBA. They're not ready for them. They're not ready for the
No.
Milwaukee's. They're not ready for the Bostons. They're not ready for them, and like I said, not just our players and strategy, but also our coaching. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. You
they're
got to
not
look at everything from top to bottom. That's true.
yeah, indeed, right. So I mean, that's the whole purpose of this. We need all of that if we're gonna be considered a top 5 team. So like I said, that's what I learned. Now we 8-7, which is something to be happy for because it could have been the opposite. But in the end, man, um, this is the stuff that you see them go through and you want them to learn at some point. Maybe this helps gel them into something. We know that the guys, our big guns and the on the Pelicans weren't selected for an all-star team. Maybe that can be a chip on their shoulder. Maybe that's something they can just focus on after the all-star break is over with and getting this team to the playoffs and winning the playoff series or two would gain some respectability, man, in terms of the Pelican faithful, because we know ultimately they want a brand new stadium in New Orleans. They want a brand new
Yeah,
stadium in New Orleans. They really do. And
it's
I
needed.
can tell you, right. And I could tell you, they looking at the lakefront area around. I mean, excuse me, not the lake, the riverfront area around the convention center. They got some property out there that I've seen some ideas and some concept art what they were trying to do in terms of building it. You won't ever get that unless this team start winning some games. You won't get the support of the public unless the Pelicans start really consistently on a yearly basis have that team competing in
Yeah,
the
winning.
playoffs and winning right consistently.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs and competing for championships. You won't ever get that building. So I mean, in the end, we'll see what happens. But anyway, last thoughts from you, Lex, before we get out.
Yeah, just to go off what you were saying, the mindset of the organization has to be in the right place. I think sometimes they can get trapped in, okay, yeah, we're a small market team, so we have to think small. And it's like, no, you can think big. You know what
Indeed.
I'm saying? Like, you can change this market into a big market. And if you start thinking like that, because first it's the thought process, then the actions will come. Yes, there's no one coming to, the Pelicans as far as free agents, but there's things that you can do, making the right hires as far as coaching wise. That makes a huge difference. And it doesn't even have to be someone like that has a big name. But I mean, look at what OKC is doing.
Right.
They've been consistent all year. And just last season, they were a playing team. Do you see the drastic change? Like, they've literally become like, no, we're winning. And they're winning convincingly against top teams in the league
Yeah.
consistently throughout this whole season. I mean, they've been doing their thing. And I was actually hoping that what OKC is doing, the Pelicans would have been doing, or the Pelicans would have been doing what the T-Wolves are doing. Because it's like, this group, even though they haven't been playing together as much, they've still been together. They've still been together. They've still been around each other. It's like, how long do we give the team in order to really get to know each other, know their games, understand the strengths and weaknesses, and how to maximize the players, the player personnel?
Right.
It's like at some point in time, we got to kind of have that idea, like a strong idea, like, look, this is what he does well. This is what he does well. How can we get these guys to play together and maximize their play and be like this great team that we can be, but we're not there yet. So, I mean, it's from top to bottom. Obviously we talk all the time about Doc Ock and, everything he does. And even with, the load management of Zion and really not allowing to unleash him or, resting him when it's like, okay, why is he resting? Different things like that. It's like, when are we going to step out and be like, look, we're trying to do something here. We're trying to get somewhere. And if you're slow in taking those steps, at some point in time, you're going to fall behind. Because I honestly feel like the team has not been proactive enough and has been more reactive as far as, making changes, because you'll find that teams will pass you by. Henceforth, OKC. Henceforth, the Minnesota T-Wolves.
Yeah, well said, Lex, because that is absolutely what has happened, man. OKC, they weren't a fluke. What they did to the Pelicans last year, and then they built upon it.
Yeah.
And built around
they got better.
Right. They built around, Shy. And they added guys around them with hustle ability. The guy that they're long, they run the floor, and they play really well. And they like they play those passing lanes, they're chippy, and they're excitable. So I mean, you look at all of the things that they do, man. They are well coached. They're a well coached team, and several other teams that you look at, like, man, damn, why aren't we here? Well, like I said, man, time will tell, man, when we get, like I said, on the other side of this All-Star break. But first and foremost, we got to go to the trade deadline to see what we got going on. And that'll be coming up in several days, man. We'll know what the Pelicans are, what they got planned, what's up their sleeves with that old Doc Ock and Brother Trajan. So anyway, with that being said, fam, we're going to get out on that. Listen, I appreciate all of you guys for chiming in. Shout out to you guys, including Big Sean and Tasha. Much love to y'all chiming in, even though we know you San Antonio Spurs people. We appreciate you being here as we did.
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah, shout out to you guys, man. Y'all lively, man. Y'all in the building. I see them lighting up the chat, talking about, Q finally had an epiphany about this. What you talking about, man? What are y'all guys talking about? You got 10 wins, man. What y'all talking about? Y'all eat them 10 wins, man, and be proud of yourself. Y'all be proud of yourself. All right, so anyway, we're going to get out on that. Listen, I appreciate y'all, man. Y'all hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. By all means, feel free to share the show on your social media feed. We'll pop back up here in a couple of days and do a preview on the recap of the Pelicans matchup against the Toronto Raptors. Hopefully it'll be a W. We'll have 3.
TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That in all of us. That's right, the Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. And remember,